Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Christmas special. Happy holidays. I'm Tim Meyer. I'm one of your co-hosts for this evening. I am joined by three very talented people. The first person I'd like to introduce is our good friend, Matt Hayward. Matt, how's it going tonight?
How's it going, Tim?
Good. Would you like to introduce yourself for maybe some new watchers who haven't seen us broadcast before?
Yep, hopefully. The Irish horror author. My first collection came out in May called Brain Dead Blues, and my first in July called What the Monsters Fear. A collaboration with Patrick Lacey summer, and a collaboration with soon after that. And my second novel, but it's coming out in the middle of next year.
Awesome. Patrick Lacey, would you like to introduce yourself, sir?
Sure, I am an American author. I have two novels out. One is called Dreamwoods, which is about a haunted amusement park. The other one is called We Came Back, which is about a teenage cult. And I have a novella called A Debt to Be Paid, which is kind of like It Follows with shadow people is how I pitch it. And then next year, like Irish author Matt Hayward said, we have a collaboration coming out next July called Practitioners. And earlier on, I think in 2018, my novel Bonesaw comes out through Perpetual Motion Machine, which is about a movie monster that comes to life.
Very cool. The last person we have to introduce, everyone should already know who he is, and that is the great Chuck Buda. Chuck, introduce yourself
I don't know
to the
about
good
that.
people.
Yeah, I don't know about that, Tim, but I'm Chuck Buda.
That's it. That's all you got.
That's good. That's good.
That's good.
Yeah. I wrote a couple books. I have a series, so I have a zombie series, a supernatural western series, and a cult thriller series with a lot of orgiastic sex in it, and a psychological thriller that's got serial killers. And I'm working on some other stuff, so a little bit of everything. All around, kind of like.
Very, very cool. So like I said, I'm Tim Meyer. I've written about 10 books by now. My last book was Sharkwater Beach, which was published by Severed Press back in May. It's basically Jaws meets Aliens. So if you're into that whole thing. And my next book is called Kill Hill Carnage, and that will be out through Sinister Grin in hopefully by the summertime. I don't have an exact release date yet, but so that is me. The first thing I wanted to do was talk about the giveaways we have tonight. Periodically throughout the show, I'm going to ask questions in the YouTube chat. So if you're watching and you don't have a YouTube account, I think you need to create one so you can participate in the chat. But the first thing I'll be giving away is Robert McCammon's Blue World, an old paperback copy, which I think is pretty cool. I have like 3 copies of this, so I figure I'd give one away. The second thing I'm going to give away is DC's House of Horror, which came out back in October, which has some very talented people: Brian Keene, Mary Sangiovanni, Rath James White. Really cool. Again, I have a few extra copies, and I decided I'd like to give them away. And the last thing is a copy of Sharkwater Beach. I will sign it for you and send it to you. So, U.S. only. So if you live outside the country, I'm sorry. But, yeah, that's it. So what I'll basically do is I'll post the questions. I'll let you guys know what I'm going to look for, and then I'll post the questions in the chat, and the first person to answer it will win the prize. So just keep watching, and good luck. Matt, you said you wanted to give away something tonight too, right?
The ebooks of Brain Dead Blues, my collection.
Very cool. All right. So first, we got to take care of some business. And what everybody's really wondering what's going on tonight is, what are we drinking tonight, guys? What are we putting in ourselves while we do this thing?
Why don't you start, Tim? What have you got?
What do I got? I'm boring though. I just have Blue Moon, which is like actually one of my favorite beers. I really
Blue
enjoy
Moon
it.
is my favorite beer.
It's really good. I also have I don't have it on me, but it's in my fridge. A Icarus Imperial IPA. That's just fantastic, but I'm just not in the mood for it tonight because it's like 10% alcohol, and I'm not ready to take that on. But that's also really good. Icarus is a local brewery by me in New Jersey. They're about 20 minutes away. Actually, Chuck and I did a signing there not too long ago, and they make fantastic beer. So, Patrick, what are you drinking tonight?
I have a porter in my Jason Voorhees glass. This is from a brewery called Springdale, I think. Not Springwood, that's the town in Nightmare on Elm Street, but I think it's Springdale, and it's local to Massachusetts. I think they're owned by Jack's Abbey, which some people probably know about. But it's just a standard porter. I give it like a 6 out of 10. And that's all I have going on. I have some IPAs in the fridge that I'll probably stealthily make my girlfriend grab too as we do it now.
Sounds good. Matt, what are you drinking this evening?
I have a heap of Heineken, which is just standard, but I have something very special which I'm waiting to get into, and that's a bottle of Hobgoblin.
Ooh.
Whoa,
And look at that bottle.
that
What
is
awesome.
a badass bottle.
It's Hobgoblin, Witchwood Brewery.
What kind of beer is it?
It is a traditionally crafted legendary ruby beer, apparently,
Oh, interesting.
according to the bottle.
And Chuck, what are you drinking tonight?
Well, I have a 12-pack of PBRs in the fridge, but I chose to go stealth mode in my camo cup. And it's called a Joey Jr. So it's like vodka, rum, cranberry juice, and something else. And it's
Turpentine?
it's like turpentine, pretty much, yeah. It's pretty good. So hopefully I'll make it through this entire hangout.
That sounds awful.
Yeah, it does sound gross.
Sounds like
It,
something.
it actually doesn't taste bad.
Jeez, I don't
What a
know.
glowing recommendation.
It's not too bad. You haven't died yet drinking it, right? So
No,
I
not
guess-
from drinking that.
Yeah, not from that. Not from that. From other things you died. All right. Well, let's get this party started. So the first question I'm going to throw out to you guys, just to get into the Christmas spirit, is what is your favorite Christmas movie, both horror and regular? So Chuck, why don't you start us off? What's your favorite Christmas horror movie, and what's your favorite regular Christmas movie?
Or like an actual Christmas like type movie.
Mhm.
All right. Well, Christmas movie, it's going to be Black Christmas, and the original one from, I think it was the 70s or 80s, maybe 70s.
74.
70s.
Well, okay. Yeah. One from the 2000s, but you know, because of Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who I've had a crush on for probably as long as I discovered her. Regular movies, the original Grinch That Stole Christmas cartoon, but I also like the Heat Miser, Freeze Miser thing. So I'm gonna go with the Grinch cartoon with Boris Karloff. I think.
I like it. I like it. Good selections. Matt, what about you?
Let me have a think about it. Go with Pat first. So I have
Pat.
I have my horror one. I don't have my my normal Christmas one.
All right, Patrick, you're on. What about you?
So mine is both, in my opinion, a regular and a horror Christmas movie, and that's Home Alone. Because it shows what skilled young engineers are capable of when they're left alone. And it also shows how not to be a good parent. And that movie, like, legitimately, I watch it every year, and I've been obsessed with it since I was a kid, to the point where, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but like at the end, right before the traps are set, he like makes a set of plans, and it's like a house blueprint. And in each different room, he has like what the trap's going to be. And I used to pause that almost every day and figure out like if burglars came to my house, what I'd do for traps. Except mine were always like a lot more grotesque. I mean, it was just like me hiding in a closet stabbing someone is what I would think of. So that movie probably inspired like a lot of actual real life sickos like myself. So I'm going to go with Home Alone, both 1 and 2. As far as I'm concerned, there's no other sequels. So
Understood. I'd
have to go with the Gremlins duo. I think number 1 for horror and number 2 for Christmas movie.
Nice. Yeah. Good stuff. For me, my favorite Christmas horror movie is the same as Chuck's. It's the original Black Christmas. Although I really do love the remake.
I love it.
I think it's like super underrated.
I just watched it this morning.
Really?
Yeah, I think that movie in like 5 years, it's going to get like, it kind of has a cult following now, but I think like the general perception is people hate it. But I think it's going to be one of those movies that like the general public changes their mind. Like Scream Factory will put out like a special edition. Everyone will love it.
Yeah. No, I don't understand the hatred. Not even, I don't see a lot of hate for it. I just don't see, I think when people talk about Black Christmas, they only talk about the original, and people don't talk about the remake like they should.
Agreed.
But my favorite regular Christmas movie, much to my wife's chagrin, is Love Actually. I don't know if you guys have seen that movie.
Great movie.
It's fantastic. It's the best. But she hates that movie. And we actually recorded a whole podcast episode about it, so it's pretty funny.
What's the thing that he holds up? The written poster board. What does it say on there?
Oh, he goes through like a whole thing. That's actually.
What's like the real famous one now? It's like a. It's been going nuts.
I just watched it.
I know. I can't remember it either.
I don't remember.
Yeah, pretend it's red rum and call it a day.
But Andrew Lincoln is the actor who actually plays that character.
Yes.
Which most people know from Rick as The Walking Dead.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah. Also a great actor.
I've got a question for you guys.
Sure. Shoot.
What's your favorite episodes of things?
I got to go with Rudolph. Easily.
I would go the Star Wars Christmas special because it's just the weirdest thing. If you're unfamiliar, I think it's like 79 it came out, and they were just totally trying to capitalize on the original film, A New Hope's popularity, and they did a Christmas special, and it's like a musical, and like Chewbacca plays like way too big of a role, and it's one of the most uncomfortable things I've ever seen. It was I think it was recorded live, and it was only shown that one time, so you can find it on YouTube. But I don't think it's ever aired in repeat form ever. And it's just like, to think that actually was shown to like millions of people just scares me because I actually feel uncomfortable talking about it right now. I'm sweating a little bit. It's very, very bizarre. So yeah.
That's awesome. What about you, Matt?
I was just watching Black Mirror, and they had just saw the Christmas special of it. It's called, I think it's just called Black Christmas or something.
Is that the one with what's his face in it? The guy from Mad Men?
John Hammond?
Yeah.
I don't know the actor's name. He's like stuck in a room with another guy who.
Yes. And he's just trying to extract like information from him or something.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, dude, that is a great episode.
Yeah. What about Chuck?
I don't know. I'm flummoxed. I can't come up with a Christmas special of something that really stands out in my head. Worse.
Well, wasn't the Grinch like a Christmas special? So you could kind of use that again.
Not real. I mean, it's on every year, so I don't consider that a special.
Oh, I consider Rudolph a special, but maybe
now I consider the music special, but that's not necessarily Christmas, even though it's got Christmassy stuff to it. But I don't know. I'll go with Patrick because nobody should denigrate Star Wars, so that's I'm on Patrick's side
for once.
For once.
Chuck, Frank says to say Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas. I don't know what that
No,
means.
I
I don't know if you know what that means, but I have no idea what that means.
don't, but I would like to give Frank a birthday shout out because today is his 32nd birthday. So happy birthday, Mr. Frank. Or you know what?
We can swear, right? What is the cussing rule here? Can we swear?
I don't have a cussing rule.
Okay. I'm going to keep mine locked away for the right time, but I definitely will be cussing.
Yeah, I probably will too. It's
Cool.
just inevitable.
I think
Sure.
the more we drink, we should get a cursing counter put up in top of
That would be
That would
fun.
be cool.
We should make that Frank Edler's job. We should give him a job.
I'll
on his
drink to
birthday.
that.
I'll send him out a copy of Brain Dead Blues if he can't see him at the time, so we swear.
There you go. Perfect. All right. Should we get to some questions from the audience?
Yeah, can we
Yep.
call it viewer mail just so it sounds like a little bit more official? Do you mind if we just call it viewer mail?
Can we? Absolutely.
Thank you.
Seconded.
Hold on one second. I'll try and pull up a good question here.
By the way,
Right.
Tim, why don't you talk about why you're wearing the elf hat? Because you really shaved like a big bald patch on your head underneath.
What? Oh, yeah, I did cut my hair, so I shaved it all off. It's gone. We don't have to get into that though.
Awkward.
Awkward. All right. So Mike Limon says, "I love Christmas and I love horror. How in the world do you guys merge these two themes to come up with such awesome stories? And can you really write about Christmas during the summer?"
Can I start?
Yeah, absolutely.
I have to say that I think Christmas is the perfect setting for horror because it is the ultimate happy time for most. And introducing horror is so easy because it's the complete opposite of what horror is, so it's very easy to attack. You introduce a Santa Claus who's a psycho into an everyday family, it's instant. It's so easy to do horror with a happy situation.
I agree.
I agree. You want me beer?
No. So do you guys find it difficult to he poses a good question, writing about Christmas in a different time of the year, and not just Christmas, but like other seasonal, I guess, stories. Do you guys have an issue with writing a summer story or a story that takes place in the summer during winter and vice versa? I always find it difficult for me. I know I can't get into the mindset, but I don't know, Patrick, have you ever had that issue?
I feel like usually the book I'm writing, I will set it in whatever season I start writing it in, and it usually bleeds over to the next season, so it's never like too removed. But I don't think I've ever written, I was talking about this the other day, I've never written a winter novel. I've done spring, summer, and fall. The thing I'm working on now is fall, but I don't think I've ever done a winter one, and I don't know why that is, other than I don't like shoveling. So.
And you live in New England, which gets
it's snowing
pounded.
as we speak, actually. So
Oh.
thanks for reminding me. That's great.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. What about you, Chuck? Do you have a problem with writing in different seasons?
Yeah, I have a problem with writing. No, truthfully, I actually did this summer try to start off my, writing another version of my Halloween quatrains for the Halloween season, and I found it really difficult to the mind of Halloween time. I really couldn't get into it until about September. So for me, yeah, I think I have a little seasonality difficulties, if you want to call it that. But I agree with what Matt said earlier. Not only is it so diametrically opposed to horror in, the spirit of the holiday, but also children in it and the anticipation of Christmas, right? I mean, as a kid, you're counting down the days. You have the little flip calendar. You can't wait. And then on Christmas morning, you can't sleep, and you run down the stairs to open up the gifts in the stocking. I mean, what could be more horrific than anticipation and, you know, basically unveiling something horrific, you know, in a gift or whatever. So finding something really bad downstairs, you know, it's pretty cool, actually. And I've never done something themed that way, but you guys, I think it's a good way to go. I think that's a great question.
And there's also like the issue of like seeing family members, right? Because everyone has that weird family member, like it might be an aunt or a cousin who like always smells like maybe mothballs or something. And they make the Christmas punch, and they never say what's in it, but they like always bring it and kind of like force it on you. Seeing those people once a year, for me at least, is very traumatic. So that's why I consider Christmas to be very scary.
The cat food in the Jell-O.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
A great example of Christmas horror is Mike Lombardo's "I'm Dreaming of a White Doomsday."
Yes. Yep.
Seen it yet?
I've not seen it. I've seen like a little clip from it, but that's it.
Yeah, it's great. Example of taking something that's meant to be cheerful by nature and just twisting it on its head.
Definitely. I agree with all of your points.
Good.
All right. So Haven Rain McIntyre writes, when writing horror, do you have to do research, or is it something that comes natural to you? That's a pretty good question.
I'll start again if nobody else wants to.
Go for it.
I think when it comes to research, I think write the story to the point that you need to research. When I'm doing first drafts, for example, I'll usually just leave that space blank and work around it. Necessitate the amount of stuff I need to research afterwards. If it's getting in the way of the story, I think just write the story. Don't worry about the research. Get that in. It's logistical. So if it's not getting in the way of the story itself, I think leave it. You can always sort it later.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I also try like to do something that I don't need to research on. So for instance, like Dreamwoods is just about a family going to an amusement park. I've been to an amusement park, so that was easy. We Came Back is about like a high school English teacher and a high school student. I was a high school student for at least 4 years. And then I had gone to school for education for a while, so that was easy enough. So I always I'm lazy is what I'm saying. So no, short answer, no.
Yeah, I never
example
do.
of it would have been sorry, Tim.
No,
A really good example of it would have been practitioners. In the last act, there's a lot of shots fired, and our main character had. And I said to Pat, how many bullets can a magazine of a Glock hold? And he said, I don't fucking know. So we then had to go back and find out how much it could hold, and then count fired and make sure it was right. But that's what I mean by do it second draft. Don't worry about it. We had magical Glocks in our first draft. It didn't change the story.
Well, then, like, you might end up cutting that scene anyway, so it's just wasted effort. But you're right. I kind of forgot about it. In the first draft, he fired like 600 rounds on one clip. So it was impressive.
Yeah, I try not to do any research either, mostly because I'm lazy. Yeah, who's got time? I don't even have time to write books. I don't have time to research to write books.
Same.
Chuck, what about you? Do you do a lot of research?
No, I'm like you guys. I'm a little bit lazy, and I follow the doctrine, write what you know. So the horrific things that come out of my brain are based or very strongly on real life experiences of either me or people I know. So I typically don't need to research stuff. I have done some research on some things, but like Matt and Patrick said, I kind of write what I know, and then in the second draft or towards the end of the first draft, I will quick research to fill in those gaps and then move on.
Cool.
In the novel I'm writing at the moment, this is a good example of it. At the moment, but in the first draft, I needed to research the I can't even remember the name of it. The gland that's in your neck, thyroid.
But
I needed to research the thyroid. So in the first draft, I got to it today, and I just started laughing because it just said insert thyroid dialogue.
Well,
so what did the thyroid say?
I think with a lot of things too, like you don't need, like the thing I'm writing right now, one of the main characters is a graphic designer, and he like does book covers on the side for extra money, but like I don't go into such detail that I even need to research it really. And then like on the second draft, I'll probably just throw in like a couple terms that a graphic designer would use, but unless it like plays like a central role to the plot, I probably wouldn't go into detail. So like you can kind of use another profession that you're not familiar with, as long as you're not totally butchering it if you're going into details. So just don't go into details is what I try to do.
That's an important point, though, is about a job that you're not familiar with. I think it is important to go back over your dialogue and make sure your slang and your lingo is in line.
Yeah, but on the flip side, too, what you can do is you can put like too much lingo to the point. It's like an info dump where someone's like, clearly this guy went to like wikihow.com and was like, what does a graphic designer do? So it's just like sprinkling in little slang, like you said. It peppers it in. It's nice. Gives it a certain je ne sais quoi, if you will. So.
Don't shit. There was a book I was reading recently where it was clear the author had researched a diver. And the diver was like diving for 3 seconds or something, and it said, before dipping beneath the water to make sure that blah, blah, and it was clear that this was just research info dump, and like you said, yeah, it took me straight out of the street for
right.
Chuck, Frank Edler wants to know if you researched hot MILF scissoring scenes for the Gusher series.
Again, Mr. Frank, the stuff that I write about is based on real life experience.
He did say that.
Mostly, so I will leave it at that.
Yikes. Alrighty then.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas. We have a slew of questions from River McIntyre. I'll try and pick out a good one.
Some name, by the way, River McIntyre.
That is a cool name. So, all right, I'll go with this one. Are you self-published or did you go with a publishing house? Chuck, you want to go first?
I'm indie. That's so wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I chose to go indie for a couple reasons. One is I'm just so goddamn impatient. I could not wait for somebody to tell me that my book is crap and rewrite it and go through waiting a year or two to get it published. So I prefer to just get readers tell me if it's good or bad and then put it out there. So I'm just impatient. That being said, I do want to be a hybrid author. So I would love to traditional publishers or small houses. And, I just want to find the right project that I think would be a good fit. And so far, I haven't gotten to that point yet. So I'm still sticking to my indie roots right now.
Matt, what about you?
I was always with independent publishers like Sinister Grin or Postmortem or one of those. I do think I was listening to Joe Lansdale talk on when we were in Scares of Care last year and he did the horror show, and he said he feels like you do need a certain level of sort of authentication of people. I'm not saying they're the best people to say you're good enough or not good enough, because plenty of people have had great success with independent publishing, like Scott Nicholson, for example, is phenomenal. And then there's what's his name? Jay Conrath, I think his name is.
Jay Conrath.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Incredible. So I mean, like, there's plenty of people who do it 100%. I've always went with a publisher. I don't know whether it's just make him. I don't know if it's just trying to make myself feel safer to have a safety net of someone behind me for covers and branding, stuff like that. I have self-published a few things though, and I think it depends on the project. If you don't need a publisher for something, I think self-publish.
Cool. Pat, what about you?
All my stuff to date has been through small or micro presses, but I definitely would not be against self-publishing. My friend Adam Caesar does a lot of self-publishing, and he's doing excellent through that. So yeah, I have no ill will towards it. I just haven't really tried that route per se yet. But I think there's a place for both of them, especially in this change a second publishing industry world. So definitely, I think both have their strengths and weaknesses. I prefer I like a hard edit. I like my manuscript to come back just totally ripped apart. Because I think a lot of times you're too close to it, and for me at least, I'll be so close to it that there'll be whole sections where I just don't see a certain thing, and then a really good editor will find that. So I kind of like that collaboration between two parties. But yeah, I think both have their place in this world.
Pat.
Yes.
This is going to sound like a setup, but it's not. Just creeped into the corner of your screen and then slowly crept back out.
Is that true? Oh, you know why? Okay. That's a Halloween balloon right there. And it's moving a little bit. But you did scare me very much, so thank you for bringing that up. My heart is pounding right now.
Holy crap.
Wow.
I'm looking after you, buddy.
Nearly shat myself. So.
I started out as a self-publisher, and I've kind of become, I've been working with small presses. My last novel was done through Severed Press, and my next novel will be through Sinister Grin. But I kind of like both for different reasons. I like self-publishing because, like Chuck said, you can kind of control your own destiny. You can control when things come out. You can control the editors that you work with. You can control so much of it, your covers. And, with the small presses, you don't always get that. So there's definitely an attraction to self-publishing because of the control. And, but I do like the small presses because they pay for everything, and it's no money out of my own pocket. So it's give and take. They both have, like Pat said, they both have their place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think if you know what you're doing, definitely, I think going the independent route would benefit you. If you knew what you were doing, if you knew how to get good covers done, if you were in contact with a good editor, a small press could offer you besides their financial benefit.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. I'm trying to weed through some other questions. Matt, do you have any other questions prepared for us?
I do. I'll just have to go find them. There was some other ones on the event page on the Facebook.
Yeah, actually, I do have another one from Russell Coy. He asks, why do you think or not think the winter season is a good setting for horror? I know we already kind of talked about that with Christmas, but what about winter specifically with snow? I know I'm a huge Ronald Malfi fan, and Ron always writes, not always, but he has like 3 or 4 novels set in winter, a lot of snow, and I feel like that's some of his best work. What do you guys think about novels set in the winter time and snow? Does that add to horror, or?
I think Malfi's Bone White pulled it off perfectly.
Yeah, that's
Sorry, Tim.
No, I was just gonna say that's a fantastic novel. I love that novel. I think that's one of his best.
Yeah, I think it's winter is related to Christmas, but in a sense, it's completely different because it's kind of overlap. Winter just has coldness and bleakness to it. I think the nights are longer, the days are shorter. When you think winter, you always think of kind of solitude and almost isolation. So it's a really phenomenal backdrop to a horror story in that, it almost poses itself as a tertiary character to incorporate it into the story. So I think it's awesome. I agree. Bone White, you think about, oh man, I'm drawing a blank now, but the Stephen King story, was it Dreamcatcher?
Yeah.
Where they're at the cabin out in the, I mean, there's lots of them. I know there's one that I think I just got from maybe Patrick Logan or something like that. I haven't read it yet, but it's the same type of thing, like the remote cabin. It's just creepy.
I agree with what Chuck is saying there. I like how the weather almost becomes a character unto itself. Like The Thing is a great example of it. Another good thing is using weather to manipulate the mood of the story. Like a good example would be like Jonathan Jan's Children of the Dark, where there's a storm coming the entire novel until it finally breaks in the third act.
Christopher Golden's Snowblind is another example of the weather playing like a key role and almost becoming a character. But I agree, the desolation of winter, and if there's too much snow, it kind of feels like everything's closing in on you. It's a little bit suffocating. But I do think that you can run the risk of like describing the weather too much, and I feel like describing the weather is kind of a fine line. You could be very cheesy about it by accident or on purpose, depending on who you are. But so I think there's a fine line of making sure you don't describe it to the point where like 75% of the book is about the weather forecast in whatever town your book takes place in. But I think if it's done well and if it's done tastefully, it becomes another character in the book. But I think there's just a lot of good winter horror books. They can't be denied.
Like, yeah, another one would be 30 Days of Night.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Storm of the Century, which I know is not a book, but a great miniseries. I loved it. A lot of people don't like it, but good.
Another thing about what Pat was saying about the weather done wrong would be use the weather to mimic the main character's emotions. That drives me crazy.
Yeah. If you're sad and it's like raining outside, you're like, okay.
Yeah, like what Matt said, The Thing I think is a phenomenal. The way Carpenter used the weather and the snow and that isolation and just that feeling is perfection. Also, another novel, Desolation by Christopher Ruffty. I don't know if you guys read that.
No, I have it though. I've not read it.
It's good. It also takes place in the winter time, and it's very subtle, but it definitely plays a role in it, and I think that's pretty good. It's like a home invasion type of book, and the snow plays a factor into it. And I think the way he wrote that book was phenomenal. So, yeah, definitely some good examples.
Good question so far tonight.
A lot of good questions.
Great question.
We should post things, books, and we were talking about in the event page.
What was that?
We should post a list of the books we were talking about in the Facebook event page.
Cool.
Oh yeah, definitely. Let's see. J.C. Walsh, good friend of ours, he writes, since horror is the feeling of fear and terror, and Christmas is the opposite, a holiday that's supposed to bring joy. What if that terror was Lovecraftian? How would you incorporate Cthulhu and that whole Lovecraftian mythos into the holidays? Pat, I know since you're not a huge Lovecraft fan, but you're a fan of the mythos. How would you tackle that if you were to do a Cthulhu Christmas?
Here's the thing. I love how this always comes back to me. I don't particularly love Lovecraft's writing, but I do appreciate that he, if he didn't invent cosmic horror, he certainly propelled it to a new level. So I really love cosmic horror and weird fiction and all that. So I think it would be easy to do that with Christmas. It's probably already been done. I can't think of any examples, but you could just almost do like Christmas time as being some sort of ritual, and then there's this otherworldly force that's watching us that we're not aware of, and then humanity is just sort of a blip on the radar, and life is meaningless. And then you could do a bunch of stuff with that. In fact, that actually sounds really cool.
What about you, Matt?
I think Pat summed it up pretty well.
You're welcome.
Yeah, let's just go.
See, I would just rob Pat's idea and write my name on it.
That sounds like a good idea. Let's do
You wouldn't
that.
be the first.
Oh,
Oh man.
damn.
Yeah.
Chuck, what about you? I know you're into the Lovecraft mythos. You've written a few stories about it. How would you do it? How would you tackle that project?
Yeah, that's a good one. I would probably the whole Santa Claus, coming through the chimney. So it would probably be some kind of one that chimney, and instead of leaving presents, he the life force out of you somehow and leaves like carcasses of children under the tree and instead of presents. So
That's dark.
thank you.
Have any of you guys written a Christmas story before? A Christmas horror story?
Yes.
Yes.
It wasn't published though. It was one of my first short stories, and it was just absolute garbage. It was called The Present. The first it was one of those 40 pages short stories that really is too long and bloated. And it was just about this present that showed up under the tree. Nobody knew who put it there, so I liked the concept of it, but I was a new writer and I was trying to be Stephen King, so the first 30 pages is the guy's childhood for no reason. So I'd like to rework that someday, but I think that's the only actual Christmas thing I've ever written.
I wrote a story called Gingerbread Death Machine.
Ooh.
That was published in Hard Novel Reviews. I don't know if you guys checked that site out. It was a great site. Yeah. They published a Christmas anthology, which had Joe Lansdale was in it. Yeah, a couple of really great authors. And it was first published in that, and then I republished it in my collection, Worlds Between My Teeth. But it was basically about a kid who gets this gingerbread car, and as he puts it together, it gives him these weird dreams, and it ends up coming to his house, and these creatures come and take his parents and kill them and do all sorts of things. So it was a pretty neat story. But, that was actually one of my first published things, so it's pretty cool.
Awesome.
Chuck, what about you?
Nothing.
Okay then.
Yeah. To this date, sorry.
We'll work on that, and hopefully you have something by the time this broadcast ends.
That's a lot of pressure.
That is a lot of pressure. Matt, what about you? Have you written any Christmas themed stuff?
A short story called In the Pines, which is about a father and son who go to visit the granddad in his cabin in the mountains, but the granddad's not home. The son spots a reindeer in the field and says that says, "What do you mean?" And he sees that the reindeer has red on its face. And slowly but surely they come to realize that all the woodland critters have been nibbling at this falling creature in the forest. And the disappearance of the grandfather becomes...
Is that published there?
Yeah, it was in Arzine, and then I'm going to collect it in my next collection.
Oh, so it wasn't in Brain Dead Blues, right? Because it doesn't sound familiar.
No.
Okay. That sounds awesome, too. Wow, look at this. Two great recommendations.
That sounds great. All right. I'm going to do our first giveaway. I'm going to give away a copy of Robert McCammon's Blue World because it's one of my favorite collections ever. It's awesome. Have you guys ever read this book?
Not. I haven't.
No.
That book.
Ooh.
I
I
absolutely
have it, but haven't read it.
I was reading I was rereading it a couple of weeks ago, and there's a great one called Chicho.
Uh-huh. Yep. It's good.
And Doom City, that's another one that's really odd.
I like night crawlers a lot. I don't know why. It's just like one of my favorite stories.
I really like Doom City because it starts off really slow and creepy, and you've got this guy waking up in a nuclear apocalypse, and he finds a little girl. They're trying to find safety, but then it ends really weird because she like Hadoukens them through a fucking. It gets really odd.
Yeah, it's odd. McCabe's great. I love his writing. So I think this is such a good book, and I hope it finds a good home. So if you want to win, in the comments on the YouTube channel, tell us what Pat's favorite holiday movie is.
I know the answer, but
I know Patrick knows. I know you guys know. You were there when he was talking about it. So,
Fair.
but
I don't remember.
the first person to write it in there will win a copy of it. All right. You guys have I think
I'll give away a copy of Brain Dead Blues to anyone who can remember the name of that special beer I showed.
Oh, look at that.
Whoa. I know the answer. Can I win a copy? I'm just kidding.
You-
I already have the book.
Give me a copy.
Oh, looks like Jim Herbert wins. He wrote Home Alone in the comments. So
As in James Herbert, the James Herbert has
No.
come back from the dead and joined
No,
us tonight.
not that James Herbert.
The
Okay.
Ghost of Christmas Past, bet.
The other James Herbert.
Gotcha. He's cool too. I appreciate him as well.
And he also got a Hobgoblin. So he's like,
Wow.
He's
Killing
getting it.
he's killing it.
He can drink the beer while he reads the book, and it's going to be great.
I have a game I want us to play, but I'll save it for the end, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh,
man.
shit. I'm
I went to
scared.
Catholic school, so I know how this works. Okay.
Okay, no, I'll tell you what. We'll play a quick round right now, and we'll also play a quick round at the end.
Is it
Okay.
is it weird that I'm scared right now?
I am too.
I'm excited.
So what we're going to do is we're going to pick a letter, okay? And we're going to try create a continuous sentence that begin with that letter. And we're going to go in a clockwise.
What would clockwise be, considering this is horizontal?
For me, it is. Yeah, sorry, it's probably all different. For me, it's Chuck, Pat, Tim, myself.
Okay, I think I can remember that. It's different for me, but I think
Yeah, it's different for me too.
so. Chuck, Pat, Tim, Matt.
Yeah,
Okay.
it rhymes. So
All right, so I
let's pick
started.
letter B. So we're gonna try see how long we can keep one sentence story going for as long as possible using all B words.
All right, well, maybe this is easiest for me since I'm first. So, bloody.
Barry.
Bloody Barry. Benz.
Benz, was it?
Like he bends over, kind of.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my.
Bloody Mary Benz. Backwards.
Oh.
Oh.
Bone shifting.
Behind.
Oh. Oh my God.
We're good at this, you guys.
This,
We're good.
This is terrible.
Okay, time's up.
I don't know. I got nothing. I suck.
We made it a whole 5 words, and we're writers, so that's good.
That's pretty good.
Yeah,
I'm terrible at those games though.
I am too.
Bad.
I think we should submit that story as a collaboration.
Let's do it. Someone will publish it. Oh man, let's see. What do we got? We have a another question. Speaking of collaborations,
do we have a count on the curse words yet?
No, I think Frank had to go pick up his daughter from something, so he bounced. But
Warren anyway. I don't think there's been a single curse word.
I maybe a little bit, not much.
Yeah, I'm really saving.
I think
we're clearly not drinking enough.
I'm only on beer 1, so
I just finished beer 1.
Number 3.
We do have another question on the YouTube chat. It's from Mike. He writes, other than each other, name an author who you would like to collaborate with on a horror book or story. It's a good question. There's so many answers.
And it can be anyone. Like, can it be someone really famous?
There's no limitation. So yeah, go ahead. Say Stephen King, Pat. Say Stephen King.
I wasn't gonna say Stephen King.
Yes,
I
you
was
were.
gonna say Josh Mallerman. He's recently, like, maybe in my top 5, maybe even top 3 favorite writers. I just love his prose. It's very stripped back, and he does present tense like no one's business. And the book I'm writing now is in present tense. So whenever I'll go back and like read like a passage from his book, and it's so good, it just makes me want to just throw in the towel every time.
Dude, you're not gonna believe this, but I just finished reading Black Mad Wheel.
Love it.
It was fucking great.
Yeah, that's my favorite book of the year by far. Like, by far, it is.
It's up there for me. It's like my second or third favorite book, but it's up there. That book is phenomenal.
Yeah, he's incredible. I just love his whole approach to writing. He just seems like a cool, laid-back guy. So I definitely would. I would give an organ. I don't know. I would give like a spleen. I don't think you really need a spleen to work with him. I don't think I'd go as high as kidney. But talk to me after drink number 2, and we'll say.
Yeah, it might change.
Was our collaboration not enough, Pat?
He said no one in this chat.
A guy, who'd you want to fuck when the girlfriend's in the room?
It would still be Josh Mallerman. It would still be Josh Mallerman.
What, was that the first F-bomb of the night?
Yes, it was. Round of applause.
Yeah.
Leave it up to the Irishman. That's real. That's good.
I'm sure we said fuck before that.
I haven't. I've been keeping it in.
Keeping it in, holding it in.
Yeah.
What about you, Matt? Besides us, who would you like to collaborate with?
Besides this fucking cheating cunt. I would go with Bentley Little, maybe. I'd love to write something with Bentley Little.
If he actually exists.
Yeah. True.
He doesn't exist. He's a ghost.
I believe it.
Chuck, what about you? Who would you like to collaborate with?
Well, the answer that I know Armand would want me to give is Armand Rosamilia.
Of course, of course.
It's probably a toss-up for me. I really like Christopher Ruffy's style. For some reason, he puts me in a place that it's akin to watching like an 80s slasher flick or something, more so than other people's work. So I would like to do something with him. I think that would be cool. It's probably like 1A, 1B is he has a very subtle, creepy back approach to his horror, and some hidden snark in it. So I just find that he's intelligent for me to write with, but if I could write some of the stuff similar to him, excited. So probably those two, Ruffy and Wilburn.
Cool. Yeah, maybe for me, it would probably, obviously Stephen King is the obvious one, so I'm not going to go with that one. But probably Ron Malfi. I think like his stuff is amazing, out of this world, and he would bring me up. So, but yeah, I just love his stuff. I really dig his stories, and his writing I think is flawless. So probably Ron Malfi.
I'll jump on the Malfi train.
Yeah.
I would too. I mean, I would jump on everybody's train, basically.
Wow. Little TMI there, Chuck.
Yeah, sorry.
All right. Getting a lot of duplicate questions in the queue, so I don't think we
could give different answers too if we run out.
I was just going to say that. That's a great idea.
I'll just start asking the same questions over and over again. There's one on writer's block. I don't know if you guys want to tackle that subject.
I never get it.
Writes, do you ever get?
I just run out of energy or time. Keyboard. I don't think I don't run out of things to say.
Yeah, I don't usually get it.
That's just me
either. So, I mean, I always have ideas. I get run down, I think, and I just get tired of writing, and I need like a break. But I'm never not able to write something.
Yeah, I would say it's more just being like run down and not wanting to do it, which is just basically me every day I wake up. But I don't think I ever get actual writer's block. There's days that I'm not certain where whatever I'm working on is going to go, but I usually, as I'm writing it, can kind of work through it. But I definitely get the rundown feeling often. So.
Well, I think it's like any job. You get run down, you get tired. Some days you have an off day, some days you have a great day. I don't see why I need a special title like writer's block. It just happens with everything, I suppose.
Well, it's a weird thing too, because like I wouldn't go to my day job and be like, oh, I have a block today, so I can't do anything. Sorry, you're gonna work past it. So,
well, let me ask you a related question, Patrick and Matt, and I guess Tim, since you're on this. I find that what helps me avoid writer's block also is just because I'm an outliner. So knowing where I want to go and what needs to be said at any given time that I sit down my fat ass to the computer, it helps eliminate that because I already have my brain working towards because years ago when I tried to pants it in the closet writing for myself, I would get writer's block because I really had no roadmap and where I was going. I much get lost at the the blank screen or the white page. But since I've become, I guess, serious about my writing, I have an idea of where I'm going, so I don't have that issue. Do you guys outline too, or are you guys hybrid?
Pat said it very well before, and I can't remember where you said it, Pat. Maybe it was on the last podcast we did. You said you light the torch just to see the distance,
right.
So you don't illuminate the entire place, but just as long as you know the next stop, and then light the next one.
Yeah, that's the headlight theory. So like as far as your headlights can go at night, unless it's snowing, then it'll be shorter. But I'm the same way. I mean, I sometimes I can see like farther, like if I have the high beam theory, if you will. But I try not to hold myself too rigidly to it because I kind of like it. I think it can be a little bit more organic and go in different directions than you would have allowed yourself to if it was like a hard outline. But unless a big publisher wants me to write something based on a hard outline, then just show me the money and I'll do it.
I do both depending on the project. So sometimes I'll completely pants it and not have anything and just see where it goes. Generally, though, I usually have about a 50-50 chance of having a false start and not being able to finish it. I'll hit a wall at some point. I've been known to write like 40,000 words and just hit a wall, and then I lose that 40,000 words, which sucks. But I feel like the stuff that I outline, I'm able to write faster. So like a normal first draft would take me 2 to 3 months, and I can usually write at about half that if I outline. And again, it depends on how detailed I outline it. So for the Sunfall series that I write with 2 other guys, we outline that completely. The outlines are like 80 pages.
Oh wow!
So it's basically like a first draft anyway because it's so detailed. But I mean, we have to write that way because there's 3 of us working on it, and we each take different stages. So one person outlines, one person does the first draft, and one person does the second draft, and we all have to be on the same page. But otherwise, yeah, it really depends on the project whether I outline or not, and I like both. Actually, there's times I like an outline because I feel comfortable writing that I know I can get to the end, and then I like pantsing it because it's exciting for me. Just like reading a book, I don't know what's going to happen at the end, even though I kind of have a vague idea in my mind. But even with outlines too, I mean, I've written outlines for Sharkwater Beach. I wrote an outline, and then halfway through it went in another direction, and then the second half of the book was something completely different. So it all depends on me. Each project is completely different.
I think that's a cool thing to keep in mind is, well, when I do novels, I'll leave like a brief sentence summary of what I think is going to happen in that chapter. So if something comes to me between 2 chapters, I'll let the story meander.
Yeah, I think even if you do outline, it's beneficial to give yourself leeway and allow your mind to kind of wonder and think. Because like Pat said, I mean, sometimes you just feel too constricted and it doesn't almost feel organic when you're writing, and so sometimes that shows. Like you can sometimes tell if something's like super outlined, and as a reader, you can kind of tell that it doesn't fit. Like doesn't flow as well.
Something I want to ask Chuck is because you've written series, so do you know it's a series starting out to like outline the characters, or do you just start with book 1 and think then you could add to it?
Actually, so I usually do know going in that it's going to be a series, and while I don't outline the entire series, I do have an idea when I start book 1 of where the characters are going to go down the road and the development that I want to see in them. I've also done the other thing where I started writing, and as I neared the end of the first book, I said, "Oh, this could keep going on," and then I just kept going. I think my brain, with my own writing, just seems to work better with series. Really, really, really want to try a standalone and like a collection of short stories. I've just been so tied up in my series that I haven't gotten past that yet. But yes, I guess the long answer is I start out that way, and then sometimes I just discover that it's going to be a series. What is Pat pouring? What do you got there?
This is a Lord. I almost forgot the name of the brewer. It's my favorite brewer, Lord Hobo Boom Sauce Double IPA. But most of it that I just poured, I don't know if anyone saw that. If somehow we can slow-mo it, went onto my crotch for sure. About like a fourth of it. So it's very cold down there right now and fizzy, as it usually is anyway. But it's a great beer. You should try it.
My crotch is wet also, but warm because I've peed myself because we're talking and I haven't gone to the bathroom. I'm sorry, Matt.
Chuck,
wait, hold on.
Our audience wants to know what your sitting laying situation is. Are you like laying down? Are you sitting?
He's lounging like a house cat right now. It's basking in glory.
Yes, I'm doing. I'm trying.
Pants?
That's for me to know and you to find out. I am doing a cheesy imitation of the Burt Reynolds centerfold spread in Cosmopolitan from the 70s. Except I don't have as much hair on my face or chest, and I am wearing a black T-shirt. So,
but that's all you're wearing.
No,
right?
you know what? I've been sitting all day at a desk, and so I wanted to stand or lie down. So I'm kind of I don't know. I'm drinking too many Joey Juniors. I can't even say it now.
Holy
because I've
shit,
had
you're
so much.
wasted, man. You're wasted.
Is that
So
your first of the night or no? Your first?
It's actually my second. I had a big one when I got home from work because I was a little aggravated, and so this is my second one. And I'm not gonna lie, the screen's very blurry right now.
You seem fine.
It's not the connection.
We're just gonna try and keep Chuck awake for as long as possible until he passes out, and then we'll try and make it go viral.
Another reason why I'm reclining, so I'm closer to the end position.
John Quick says that's a horrible mental image, Chuck. You scared him.
I agree completely with him.
He can hear you.
Completely with you, John.
I love John. John's the best, John.
He's a very nice man.
I really don't like him, but I love his hair.
Great hair.
Glorious hair.
All right, I do like him.
Pat, you checking your phone? Are we not enough for you?
No, I was thanking Emily for the beer she brought. That's all. That's all. That's all. I don't know why there was this weird lull. I was just thanking her. Okay. That's fine.
Didn't say anything.
No, you're sweating, not me.
Oh man.
I'm looking at Chuck lying back.
Chuck is comfortable.
Yeah, I'm gonna take off my clothes pretty soon.
Oh God, please don't. We'll get banned from YouTube. We'll never be able to do this again.
Well, we'll
All right,
go
what's
on
the
to
next
our
serious
videos
question?
and we'll upload it there.
Tim, do you have any
It'll
other
be on Pornhub
questions?
later, so.
I'm combing through.
Okay. I'm good to go for another long while. I'm enjoying this a hell of a lot. I'm just gonna take a quick bathroom break.
All right, cool. Let's see. A lot of repeats. I don't know. Do you guys have anything else you want to ask us in the chat? Keep them coming.
And now,
Yeah. When I ask our viewers something, if there was something that they wanted to see written from a horror standpoint that hasn't been done yet, and I know that's probably a big ask because think of all the amazing authors and stories that's out there, would they love to just run out and buy a copy of? And I'm going to take notes and I'm going to start writing whatever it is that these people are looking for.
market research. That's smart. I like it.
That is smart.
Yeah, why not?
I have a simple question that we could go around and ask. What are you reading right now? That's an easy one, right?
That is a good one.
Yeah, I love talking about that stuff.
I am reading a book. I actually just finished Ararat by Christopher Golden.
Oh, how was that? That's actually like in number 3, I think, in my next to be read.
Really good.
Okay. It would have been awkward if you said it sucked, but
no, yeah, that would be awkward. But it's actually I'm trying to compile my my top 10 list. Because every year I post like a top 10 horror books of the year, and it's definitely going to be on there. So I thought it was fantastic.
He's a great.
He is, yeah. He's a good writer.
And a very nice man too.
I've actually never met him, but he seems
he's
very
awesome.
nice. So, and then I'm actually like 75% through this book called A God in the Shed. I don't know if you guys.
Oh, how is that? I've heard good things.
It's pretty decent. It's a little out there, but it's cool. It's like kind of reminds me of True Detective, if True Detective went full on supernatural instead of just like hinted at it,
right?
Like in that first season.
I want to read this.
Yeah, it's actually pretty cool. It's like a murder mystery, but there's basically like this demonic force that's trapped in this girl's shed, and it's basically like pulling the strings of the town, and then there's cults involved, like ancient cults that are after this thing, and they're trying to find it. It's a pretty neat book. Like I said, I'm about 75% of the way through, and I should be finishing up this week. So that'll probably also make my top 10.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, so I recommend it if you're into that. type of thing. What about you guys? What are you guys reading right now?
I'm reading what am I reading? I'm reading Jack Ketchum's Red for the first time.
Oh, heartbreaking book. That first chapter, it will murder you.
Yeah, I love it. I've only got like 10 pages left, but I fell asleep last night, so I'm gonna finish that tonight. And then I have Richard Matheson's The Shrinking Man up next, which I've never read, which I need to. Followed up by Bentley Little's The Handyman, the new one. It just arrived.
I heard it was like extra weird even for a Bentley Little book, so I'm interested to hear what you think of it.
Yeah, Anna's nearly finished it, and she said it's great. It's first person, which
is rare for him.
Yeah. What about you, Chuck? What are you reading at the moment?
I just finished A Debt to Be Paid by now, and I thought it was amazing. That was a Patrick Lacey book that I picked up at Rock and Shock.
I appreciate
on my Rock and Shock of books that I picked up.
Well, look at that.
Matt Serafini.
And yep. It's coming across backwards. It looks like it's coming across backwards. But I just started Feral, so I'm more. And I also got a copy recently of Christopher Golden's Ararat, so that's going to be coming up soon too. So
good. Funny story. I found that in my local charity store, which is very funny because I live in the Wicklow Mountains, and I found a Christopher Golden Ararat in my local charity shop. So I picked it up for €2. I was delighted.
Oh, awesome!
That's awesome. Matt, what are you Pat, what are you reading right now?
I am reading a book called In the Valley of the Sun by Andy Davidson, and it is also very kind of true detective-ish, like modern day Western, but with a vampire aspect. Vampires aren't actually called vampires. They're kind of played a little bit vague, but it is like another one of those books where you're reading it and you just want to throw in the towel because you know you'll never write anything like a fraction as good. It is fantastic. Like it's very like I never like want to highlight like text. I'm reading on my Kindle, but it has the highlight feature. But there are entire chapters that you could highlight because the writing is just that tight. It is phenomenal. So that would probably be second, only to Black Mad Wheel. It's incredible. So I'm loving that. I think I'm at 75% on my Kindle, so I'll probably have it done in the next few days. But
and what was the name of that again? Because I really want to write it down.
In the Valley of the Sun, and yeah, it's a modern day Western, and it has a blurb from Stephen Graham Jones. So I don't know what else you need in a book, but it's outrageously good.
Sold. I'm buying it.
Yeah. Oh my god, it's good.
Stephen Graham
I just did the same on my phone.
That's another one that I read this year. That, funny enough, I thought Pat had recommended it to me.
What one was
it? Reading it. Mongrels. Stephen Graham. No, you did recommend Mongrels.
Yeah, I
did. It was Bone White that I thought you had recommended to me, and I started reading.
Yeah, no, I've not read that one. But Mongrels is probably one of my favorite horror novels of the last.
Oh, it's phenomenal.
5 years, 10 years. It's amazing.
Yeah, I like that one too.
I started reading Bone White because I thought that Pat had recommended it to me.
I had said the prior book, Night Parade, is the one I had recommended. I love that book. I've not read Bone White yet, but he's another one that is just so good. And just such a nice guy that you want to punch him because he's so nice. Like you just can't handle all the talent and the niceness. You just want to like punch him in the nose, or maybe that's just me. I don't know.
We gang up at him at Scares.
Yeah, I would beat the crap out of him.
I love him.
No, he's awesome on all fronts.
I have a question for you guys, a writer question, and that is what rookie mistake did you find it hardest to get past, and what was the best piece of advice you got from a specific author? Two-parter.
Damn, those are two good questions that I need a few minutes to think about.
Are we talking like just the writing aspect or like the publishing aspect or both?
Purely writing, I think.
Okay. I would say I kind of already had mentioned this when I was talking about that Christmas story that I wrote, The Present, but I like wanted to be Stephen King and Dan Simmons and Peter Straub, like very long-winded. But bad things happen when you try and emulate that kind of style if you don't sort of have a natural tendency towards it. So I would just write these like absolutely like bloated novels that were just garbage and just have all this in-depth stuff that was completely awful to the story. So then, like anything that I do, I get obsessive over it. So when I was wanting to be more serious about writing, I would look up interviews with different writers like constantly. I read like thousands of interviews. And Jack Ketchum was and is one of my favorite writers. But he was definitely one of those writers who I read and was kind of like, oh, this is what I want to do. And he's big on just he's a minimalist basically. So I kind of just stopped. And I forget what interview it is, but it's a fairly popular one that a lot of people reference. It'll come to me. But it is this thing where like whatever you kind of have a natural tendency towards in terms of style, like that's what you should go for because that's kind of your thing. It's the same thing with like being in a band, playing an instrument. Whatever your kind of like natural inclination is to sound like or however you play an instrument, you should kind of go with that because that's sort of almost like a subconscious thing and that's going to be the most pure approach. So I just started writing a little bit more minimalist. I think I'm a little bit less minimalist now, but again, that's just kind of like a natural progression that I've gone into. But I didn't try and be so heavy on the details, and I feel like that's when I kind of like started getting published. So I would say, even though it wasn't advice given directly to me, I would thank Jack Ketchum for helping me be a little bit less on the details because it definitely, I hope, improved my writing style. So that's my answer.
Go on. Tim, what about you?
So the first novel that I ever published wasn't the first novel that I wrote, but it was one of the first novels that I ever finished completely, and it was 170,000 words, which is probably the length of like 2 novels.
Yeah.
So
The Doorstop.
yeah, it's a big book. That's my Demon Blood Enlightenment book. But it's a big story. It's an epic novel, and I kind of call it like an epic fantasy, but it's actually a horror novel. So I kind of wanted it to be big, but I realized that people don't really like big books, especially from new authors at the time. So I had submitted it to a couple of publishers, and they were all very interested in it, but ultimately they passed because it was so big. They were more looking for 90,000 words, 80,000 words, smaller novels. So that's what ultimately made me decide to self-publish it. But so I guess like Pat said, indirectly, maybe Stephen King, where it's kind of like Kill Your Darlings. Like that novel probably didn't need to be 170,000 words. And since then, I've actually kind of worked on cutting it down. It's still long. I think it's still somewhere in the neighborhood of 150,000 words. But it's just Killing Your Darlings, trimming that fat is definitely probably like the best advice. Also, I don't know who said it, but the best advice I've ever heard is don't be a dick.
Is that Elmore Leonard? Did he say that?
Maybe. I don't know who said it, but don't be a dick. That's good advice. That's
Elmore Leonard had my favorite writing tip of all time, which was someone was like, how do you get your prose to be so tight and your novels to be so quick? And he just said he just doesn't write the parts that people tend to skip, which I absolutely love.
Yeah. No, that's perfect.
I've read that before. Okay.
Yeah.
What do we do, Chuck?
Well, rookie mistake, I think, is just that always dealing with the fear, and I still do it every time I hit the. I think you just have to move forward. You have to get past worrying about what other people are going to think, and just do it. And that goes for any artist, whether you are an author or a painter or a musician or something. Followers, and you're always going to have your detractors and. That's just the way it is. But specific writing advice goes to my mentor again, Armand Rosamilia. he said, "You're not fucking Stephen King to be Stephen King."
Yeah, see, there you go.
And that was it.
That sounds like him.
Yeah, exactly. There was a little more aggression in his tone, but
Oh, I believe it.
But no, I got the message because I was basically trying to write in a voice that wasn't mine. And that's really where going was, you got to be yourself. And I always pride how he taught me to write with my own voice. And that's one of the things I love about Armand's books is when you read it, because it's got his voice. That was probably the most resonant advice I've gotten.
Yeah, finding your voice.
Besides Joe Lansdale telling me you're at Scares That Care that I introduced myself and said I was an indie published author, and he's like, wait a little longer.
That's good advice.
So I got that, Joe Lansdale told me published. That was cool.
That's an awesome story. I love that story.
It's a badge of honor. I love it. And Mr. Frank witnessed it, so it's.
Oh, that's fucking awesome. Lansdale's awesome. I love him.
Oh, yeah.
I do love him too.
Yeah, it's hard finding your voice. I mean, sometimes I struggle with that still. I feel like sometimes my writing's almost like a chameleon. Like if I'm reading something that's really influential at the time, I sometimes feel like the style kind of finds its way into my work. I don't know if you guys have ever.
Yeah, that's hard to get past.
Yeah. I feel like that still happens sometimes. Like what Pat was said with Mallerman and writing in that present tense. Something I started recently. It was like present tense, and it kind of like follows that his whole thing. When he writes, it's very like lyrical almost. It's
Very
almost
poetic,
yeah. It's almost like a song. And I found like my writing to kind of gravitate towards that. So yeah, it's tough. That's a tough thing to break, trying to, find your own voice and separate yourself from the pack. So
one of the hardest things I had to kind of wrap my head around was learning how to control passive voice and active voice. Because when I first started writing, like most people, you're writing a passive voice because you don't understand how to control language yet, and you're just a story. You don't really think about the mechanics of how it works. It was Tim Wagner, I want to say. I could be wrong, but I think it was Tim Wagner wrote a writing advice article for the Horror Writers Association, and he said, learn to take your sentences apart like a mechanic would his car. Learn why the words go where they go and why they work. And it was Alan M. Clark told me about a good trick, and I'm going to pass it on to all the writers who are listening. To get an active voice, just word search the word was. So he was running, boom, he ran.
Yep.
But then I went overboard, and this is the piece of advice where I want to add to Alan's advice. Was I ran into the problem of everything was completely active voice after a while, so everything was just fucking going 110 kilometers an hour, just boom, boom, boom. So learning to control active voice and passive voice and when to switch and why to switch is very important. I thought that was one of the best processes I went through.
Yeah, that's like a hard thing to learn too. That takes a while to kind of get that down. Yeah. And I think that just comes with practice, just writing like every day. And the more you write, the better you get.
Yeah, it's a tricky one.
It is tricky. Cool. All right. I'm going to give away one of these bad boys, DC House of Horror, to the first person who can tell me if Chuck Buda is a pantser or an outliner.
Or a no pantser.
Well, he's probably wearing no pants now.
I honestly think that is the case.
I think that's 100% the case.
Like, I don't know if people are watching the image, but when you see like a heat mirage and it's kind of shimmering, that's kind of the vibe I'm getting. So I don't know. Maybe that's just me. I have obviously corrected lenses, but I don't know.
It could be Google Hangouts just projecting a terrible image, which is possible.
That could be it.
I think the winner of this question, I will also give away a free Snapchat self not wearing it.
Awesome. I hope that gets leaked. I hope that's part of the fappening in 2018. So.
Well, we do have a winner, and that winner is Jim Herbert. Again.
Sorry, Jim.
He's on point tonight. So he's getting a pretty big package. Not Chuck's package.
No.
But
no, certainly not on this end.
No. A package of awesome horror books. Goodies. So
I've got a question. If you guys could novelize any horror movie of all time, what would be your dream project?
In the Mouth of Madness and Event Horizon. Done. And basically anything with Sam Neill, I want to novelize.
Yeah, basically, jeez.
Although I think In the Mouth of Madness does have a novelization, but I'd like to make it worse.
I'll pretend to not be offended by that. No.
Ooh, that's a tough question.
Yeah.
Killer Clowns from Outer Space, not tough at all. Done.
Good one.
That is a good one. I feel like I want to say The Thing, but I feel like that's too easy just because it's my favorite horror movie. So
that was done by
Alan Dean
Foster.
Foster.
What's his name? Yes, who also did the Alien novelizations.
yeah.
You found a copy of in Dublin with me.
Yes, I did. I was very excited by that. And the spine, it's unread. The spine is just perfect. So that's a really good question, though. I love stuff like that. I'm trying to think of other ones.
I'm thinking corpses.
Yep. That would be a good one.
I'm surprised Pat didn't say Nightmare on Elm Street.
Well, there's already
There's so many books.
Yeah, that's the thing. This is funny. I got a Amazon gift card from some of the people at work that I work under. So I went on. I was looking up different horror movie novelizations. No joke. And I got Videodrome, which was written by Dennis Etchinson under the pen name Jack Martin, I believe. I might have the pen name wrong. And then I got I forget who the author is, but I got the novelizations of Nightmares 1 through 3 in one book. And the third one was written before the script was finished, so it's actually completely different from the movie. So they actually have novelizations from all of them. They have all the tie-in books. There's a short story collection, like an anthology of stories set in the Nightmare world that Bentley Little actually has a novella in.
Wow.
And man, I'm geeking out right now. But yeah, you can find novelizations of all those movies. So yeah.
I found what was it? Poltergeist. In my local recycling center, it was about to get pulped, so I saved it.
I have the second movie's novelization. I don't have the first one, so I'm kind of jealous.
I think I would like to. I would like to do Dead Alive.
Oh, that'd be a good one.
That's a very good one.
That'd be fun.
I'd like to do It Follows if we're doing a more modern. I feel like you could do a real creepy, vague, kind of dialed back on the horror, and I think it would be really, really excellent.
That'd be cool.
Actually, that's a good one. What modern day horror movie would you novelize?
I'd like to do You're Next.
Oh, so I just watched that like 2 weeks ago again. I showed Emily for the first time. It is so good.
It's a superb movie.
It really is.
Yeah.
I'd go Starry Eyes too. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
I've seen that. That's a little weird. That movie's a little weird for me, but it is good. It's not bad.
I have an affinity for cult movies and books, so it's just right up my alley. I love it.
Yeah, no, it's not a bad movie. It was kind of more of like, what the fuck did I just watch kind of movie.
It's definitely better on a second viewing because it almost comes across as two separate movies once like the horror aspect kicks in. But I've seen it like 5 times now, and I feel like it gets better every time.
Yeah, I'll definitely watch it again. It's very creepy.
Yeah,
it's very what's going on obviously in Hollywood, it's very topical.
Oh yes it is, I know.
So definitely check that out. It's a good movie.
How about The Greasy Strangler?
That movie's fucking amazing.
I've never seen it.
Wow. Do you have Amazon Prime?
Yeah, is it free?
Yeah, it's free on Prime. You have to watch it. It's
I'll watch
fucking
it.
weird.
I've heard
Though.
really good things.
It's not a good movie, but it's just you have to watch it.
I'll do a Bone Tomahawk. Would be my choice.
Oh, Bone
So good.
Tomahawk is fantastic. Would you consider that a horror movie? Because I know there's like a big debate of whether or
I
not
would. I
you would.
It's a horror.
Yeah, I think so too. I
mean,
like horror
it's-
western.
Yeah, it's almost like Richard Lehman's Savage or something. You know, I definitely called it. Oh no, sorry, The Island is what I was trying to think of.
Yeah,
100%. I'll call it a horror movie.
I
Yeah,
love it.
I wish there were more western horror movies. There's not enough of them.
I'm working
House
on
2 is one.
House.
That's technically right.
That's
So,
fine.
I'm writing a western horror at the moment, but Chuck's already done one, haven't you, Chuck?
Yeah, I have 3 done and another one coming. So, yeah, I mean, I can sell the rights to my books for movies if anyone's interested. So,
there's a really now that we're geeking out about all this stuff and so far off topic. There's a good horror western called Ghost Town that was released by Full Moon in like the early '90s, and Scream Factory has a release of it. And it's like, again, it's not a great movie, relatively speaking, but it's also an amazing movie, relatively speaking. Really, really good horror western. So you guys should check it out, please. Please do that.
I'll do it. Just because you told me to.
Oh, thank you so much.
Oh man, what else we have? I think we're all
Anything
caught
else?
up. I think we're all
Do
caught up.
anything else going in the chat?
John Quick writes Nightmare 1 through 3 novelization was by Jeffrey Cooper. 4 and 5 novelization was by Joseph Locke. Got them both on my bookshelf along with the young adult series.
Oh, that's right, John. You had posted like a bragging picture of all of them, and I shook my fist in anger because that's amazing. The only thing I have is that anthology that Bentley Little's in, and now whenever the package gets delivered, that's what she said. There'll be novelizations 1 through 3, but hopefully I'll get the whole. I want all the YA novels. I want all the tie-in novels because, as you can see, kind of obsessed with the Man with the Gloves. So that's awesome.
I also noticed, Pete, you've got your Richard Lehman's on writing.
Right. So right there, does that look accurate? My lovely girlfriend Emily got me this for our anniversary.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I want to get like an actual display case for it just because it feels like vulnerable up there. But it's just so cool to like open it and just see his actual signature. It's literally the best gift I was ever given. So
I've got Lehman's signature because of
Lehman's term, right? And no, that was post mortem.
No, this is it was the most amazing thing I've ever gotten. We went to Seattle to meet a couple of musician friends of mine, and while we were there, Alan M. Clark came over for a barbecue. And when he came, he brought me a box of books. And I assumed he had brought me maybe a couple of prints of his artwork because I'm a huge fan of his artwork.
Incredible.
What he had brought me was a thing called Imagination Fully Dilated, which is where authors took Alan M. Clark paintings and wrote stories based on the paintings that they saw.
When did this come out?
I'll go check. I'll send it to you.
Okay.
I think it's early 2000s, maybe late 90s. But there was 600 copies made, and in this box, Alan had given me one. So I open up the signature page. There's Richard Lehman, there's Bentley Little, there's Jack Ketchum, and I started crying. I was like, Alan, what? This is insane. You can't just give this to me. And he was so nonchalant about it. Just, yeah, I had it lying in my house. Take it.
Wow.
that's amazing.
That's awesome.
It's unbelievable. You see, it's called Imagination Fully Dilated, and I think there's a volume 1 and a volume 2, and I think I have volume 2.
Volume 2. Wonder what that goes on eBay for.
We're all stymied.
Yeah.
We have more questions from Haven Rain McIntyre. She writes, what is it about the horror genre that interests you, and what part of writing a horror book is the hardest?
Will I start again?
Go for it.
The part that interests me is we see a side of people in horror that we don't typically get to see in other genres. And that's a lot of vulnerability. Romance or action movies, you're typically accentuating aspects of people that a lot of us don't relate to. Whereas in horror, the more horror you put into things, the more vulnerability you're getting from your characters. And I think that's much more relatable on a personal level. And I think that's what to entertainment for, is to relate to people and see how they can equate the situations they're going through to their personal lives. I think with horror you get to exercise a lot of bad you've been through and for other things. It's like people who slowly douse themselves with poison every day, so they're immune to it when it isn't, you know. So I think that's one of the genres are as about it is. You can have any other genre within our story.
I think Matt's breaking up on my end. Is he breaking up on your end?
Yeah, I thought I was having a hallucination, but it sounds like he's just having a little bit of technical difficulty.
A little bit of technical difficulties. I think what he was trying to say at one point was that you can kind of blend horror with almost any other genre, and I think that's what interests me the most about it, is that you could put horror with sci-fi, you could make a comedy, you could do so many things with horror. That's really what I've always kind of been drawn to with the genre. And I don't know. Also, I'm attracted to like violent things. I don't know. I'm weird like that. So, but I don't know. What about you, Pat? What do you like about the genre?
I think I maybe like two answers for this. One is like there's so much to be afraid of in the real world, you know, just like nuclear war and tax reform and things like that. So I think, or yeah, how topical. But I think horror is a way to get all that out and explore it in like a safe environment. So like a monster probably isn't going to come and kill me, although I am an avid believer in Sasquatch. So that's another story. But you know, it's a way to kind of like define what makes us afraid and explore it in a way that's not actually going to affect us in real life. And then the other one is just kind of like an outsider way of viewing things. You know, the monster is always sort of the outsider, and a lot of characters in horror films and movies are outsiders. So like, you know, I've liked horror since I was a little kid. Literally the first movie I remember seeing is Nightmare on Elm Street. And I've always been like a metalhead too, so I've kind of always liked things that aren't really that like mainstream, and I've kind of always like had to explain to the average person why I like them, and often have to defend horror and metal and stuff like that. So I think it's just kind of like feeling like an outsider, but also like, you know, there's this way to explore it through horror, and there's just a great like community of people who like the genre that make you feel less like an outsider. So I guess that's why I'm drawn to it.
Awesome. Chuck, what about you? What attracts you to the genre?
What Patrick just said, but also, you know, I was raised in a strict Roman Catholic upbringing. You know, horror always dealt with more the psychological in terms of dealing with sin. So, you know, if you're the evil doer, then you get to in the awful sins of the world. are the victim of the horror. You know, you have to digest the sin that's being done towards you, and how do you overcome it? Do you succumb to it? I guess that there's a religious aspect to it in terms of you know, the evil of Satan, even though it may not be Satan per se, but just the sinning. And for me, you know, I grew up watching Universal monster movies in the middle of the night on a little black and white TV, which my kids still don't believe that they used to exist. But it always brings you back to you know, the whole moment of monsters. And really, for me, I think, you know, again, going to what Patrick was saying, I think real monsters are fucking people. Because we can be the most loving and accepting creatures, and then we're the worst possible creation on the planet. So I don't know, that it's like this whole dichotomy thing for me. So I could go on for hours, so I'll just shut up now.
Cool. All right, I'm gonna do my last giveaway real quick, and that is for Sharkwater Beach, and that will go to the first person who can tell me what Matt Hayward's favorite Christmas movie is. And it's probably going to be Jim Herbert because he's won everything tonight. So
I actually don't even remember the answer to this, so that would be interesting to know.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. First person to answer. Matt Hayward's favorite movie.
I can't believe I'm still awake.
Yeah, I
after
thought you
drinking all this turpentine.
I thought you would have been dead already, to be honest.
To be fair, you can't prove that this isn't all just a dream.
These aren't the authors you're looking for.
Am I back on?
Oh, you're back. Yes,
You're back.
Way? Am I here?
you're a little broken up, but I can understand you. So
You sound like you're inside a wine bottle. To me.
that sounds painful to me.
Yeah.
It looks like he's opening the can in very slow.
I don't know what she's doing. Holy moly. So Jim Herbert actually wrote Black Christmas, which wasn't Matt's favorite.
Audible, or is it?
Yeah, I don't remember what the answer was. I'm not going to ask because someone else could get it, but I genuinely must have left the planet during that. I don't know.
I don't know. Still going. If nobody gets it right, I'm just going to tear the book in half. And nobody will get it.
Oh, that would be good.
Don't do that.
Oh, someone got it. That would go to Sheridan Bradford. So he's going to win a signed copy of Sharkwater Beach. Good job, Sheridan.
Nice.
Matt, are you still there? Can you hear us?
Don't let
I think
me.
it's pretty good.
Yeah,
Your face is blurred out. It kind of has like a shadow person aesthetic to it right now.
okay.
Yeah, I can hear you, but you look even worse than normal. It's very scary.
Wow.
That's because of this train in the morning here.
Are you tired yet?
I'm fine.
I would assume the answer is yes if he can't answer.
All right. Well, I think we're caught up on questions. I don't see anything else in the queue. So, I mean, we have a few minutes left if you guys want to talk about anything else. If you have any other topics you wish to discuss before we sign off.
What's everybody's favorite album of
Have
the
any,
year? Okay.
Album?
Yeah, let's switch to music because I feel like we all like music and are maybe at least half of us are musicians. So, like, what's everybody's favorite album came out?
That's a good question. I have to look and see what actually came out this year.
I mean, if you guys have to think too much, let's just scrap the question.
Oh, I could find out. I'll find out right now. I just don't remember what exactly came out this year.
That's fair. That's fair.
I've had different albums at different points in my life. Everything from Van Halen to Iron Maiden to Tool, but right now it's got to be Immortal, Sons of Northern Darkness.
Oh God! So I like what is it? Is that their first album, Pure Holocaust, or is that their second one?
That might be their first one.
Early one. Love that one.
Yeah, it's brutal.
Yeah, it is. It's so different. I mean, it's not that different than their later stuff, but they got like a little bit more like symphonic, which I love too. But I love the old stuff.
Yeah, it's just so raw and not like the mixing isn't very crucial. Obviously, well,
No,
not that it is in black metal anyway, but
right. But even more so in that early 90s, late 80s stuff.
Yeah. What about you?
There's this band that is mostly from Boston area called Mutoid Man, and it's like kind of a super group. It has some people from like different Boston like hardcore band stuff. But it's kind of like a Motorhead, modern like Motorhead, like metal-y thing meets like 70s psychedelic rock, and it is like the best thing. It's very guitar driven, but the bass is also like pretty present in the mix. And I have listened to this album at least 100 times this year, and I love it more and more every time. And the lead guitarist is like getting into aria guitars, which was like a kind of an obscure guitar maker in the 80s, and they were going for pennies. So he bought this like Flying V model guitar, which was from like 1984, and it was a signature model from the guitarist from the Scorpions, and he bought it online for like $400, and he's been like raving about how it plays excellent. The action is kept up, and then it has driven the price of aria guitars up like tenfold, because I went to look for that exact model, and it's like $3,000 now. So that man, simply from like singing this guitar manufacturer's praise, has like tripled the prices, which pisses me off because it looks like a great guitar and I'd love to get one. But yeah, Mutoid Man, their new album is called War Moans, and it is phenomenal.
I don't know the whole album, but I know one of the songs gets major airplay down here in New Jersey on WSOU. So
good.
I don't remember what the name of the song is, but it does sound awesome.
Yeah, I love it. I love it to death. So
so probably my favorite album of the year was the new Taylor Swift. No, I'm kidding. Wow. That's not it.
A lot of people, actually, Adam Caesar and Matt Serafini are obsessed with Taylor Swift, and they swear by her music. So
I mean, I can't really blame them, but that wasn't my favorite album. There's a death metal band, which isn't really it's not really a band. I think it's just one girl, and she has like a backup band. The name of the band is called Merker. I don't know if you guys.
Merker, yeah.
I'm actually going to see her on the Decibel tour. She's one of the supporting acts in like February. I love her stuff.
That fucking album that came out this year is phenomenal. Yeah. I listen to that all the time.
Yep.
So I like that. I'm just thinking of what else came out this year that I've actually listened to. The new Arch Enemy album. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
I knew you were going to say that. That's an awesome one too.
You know I was going to say that because they're one of my favorite bands ever. And
the hottest lead singer ever.
She's good. She's good. I don't know. I'm still partial to the old singer, but
I'm with you. Yeah.
But she's good. That's really I haven't really listened to a whole lot of Septic Flesh's album is pretty good that came out this year. I don't know if you guys listen to them. But that's it. That's all I got.
Cool. I think Matt seems to be a statue again, at least on my end. So.
Yeah, he looks frozen, and like the picture that it's frozen on, he looks really stoned. Like,
well, that's just Ireland at 3 a.m. But I think it's weird. Like every time he's frozen, it's just the coolest pose ever. Like it could just be an album cover.
We should screenshot it and make him put it on his next.
I agree.
Next album.
I think it's the next cover of Rolling Stone magazine.
Adam Caesar actually wrote T Swift Forever in the chat.
Am I still?
Yeah, he's a big fan, and he's actually him and my girlfriend Emily are obsessed with her, and I've kind of come around a little bit. I can see why people like her. I don't know if I'll become a fan, but I'm not. The hatred is not pure anymore. So
Yeah, I mean, as far as pop music goes, I think I prefer like Lady Gaga, but I mean,
And then
what was that?
he popped in for a second.
Yeah,
There he is. He's there.
he's back.
Matt, can you hear us?
No, I think he's gone. I think
No,
he's
he's
dead.
gone. Can you hear us?
He had a good run at least.
Blink twice if you can hear us.
Again, look. Oh, he's look at that frozen image. It's just so cool, effortlessly.
It is. Oh my God. All right. Well, I think that's all I got. So if you guys don't have anything else.
I don't think so. No.
No?
Anything anyone wants to pimp at all?
Oh yeah, well let's talk about what's dropping next year for us. Pat, you've got a bunch of shit coming out next year, right?
Yeah, so Bonesaw comes out I think early 2018. That's my first novel with Perpetual Motion. And they are awesome so far to work with. I'm psyched to work with them. That's kind of like my most, I don't want to use the term bizarro, but like it's my most out there novel for sure. And then me and Matt's, this infamous shadow-looking person here, our collaboration I think comes out next July, and that's a little bit more crime-oriented with a Bentley Little sort of horror bend. And then I have another, I mean, I can announce it only because I signed the contract, but I have another hardcover coming out through Thunderstorm. And I'm kind of trying to keep it under wraps, but it's the only other novel that I've had published so far that hasn't come out through them yet. That is in Dreamwoods. So if you look up on Amazon, you'll know what that is. So that should come out in early 2018 as well. So I'm psyched on that.
Dude, that's awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah.
They put
Thank you very much.
Man.
So that's what I got going on next year.
Awesome. Chuck, what about you? What do you got coming out?
Very recently, I am in the my favorite podcast for the Project Entertainment Network. A short story related to my Son of Earp series, Western in there. It's got Brian Keene, Jonathan Mayberry, Rosamilia, Golden, James Moore, like everybody's in it. So it's pretty cool. That and recently came out with Middletown Apocalypse 3, which is a zombie heavy metal anthology, again full of short stories with all the best like zombie authors. And then me. I have Tourniquet, which is book 3, the final chapter in the series, kind of early 2018, and I also plan to get out the 4th book in the Son of Earp series, 4 and 5 in the Zombie Lockup series. So a lot of shit is backed up, and did I stun you, or
No, it just like cut out randomly for a second.
I'm speechless. So
I'm stunned. All right, so 2018 is going to be pretty busy for me. I have my first novel that I wrote, Demon Blood, and its sequel, Demon Blood 2, Gateways. I'm re-releasing those. They're going to be newly revised, and they're going to have new covers. So that'll be out sometime in spring, along with the final chapter of that series, the 3rd book, Demon Blood Defiance. So I'm going to drop all those at the same time. So that's those 3. And then I have that book through Sinister Grin, hopefully sometime in the first half of 2018. And then I'm shopping around a novella right now that I hope maybe will come out in 2018, possibly. But nothing's concrete on that. And then not necessarily book news, but I'm actually starting a podcast a movie podcast where we're going to talk about movies and television shows. That's going to start on January 3rd, and that will be on the Project Entertainment Network, which I know Chuck is very familiar with.
Nice.
So yeah, that'll be cool. It's called Aperture Hour. So pretty excited about that.
And then just to mention quickly, since Matt seems to have frozen out, if you can hear me, Matt, again, another cool pose, but he has some stuff coming out next year in addition to Practitioners, which is the novel we wrote. He has a solo novel coming out called The Faithful, and I think that's out through Sinister Grin as well. And then he's also writing a novel with the very legendary Brian Smith called The Bio Lords. And I want to say that's like a heavy metal horror type album. But he can correct me if I'm wrong. But I don't know if that'll be out next year or not. But I know they've started work on that. So
that is fucking awesome.
No, I said awesome first.
No, I said it first.
Oh, right. And then he's definitely not messaging me asking me to plug the stuff. But he also has an anthology that I completely forgot existed, which is funny because I contributed to it. But it is called Welcome to the Show. And it's a really cool anthology through Crystal Lake Publishing. And it takes place at the same venue. It's a music-themed anthology. All the stories take place at a place called the Shantyman, which is a club in, he didn't write, but I want to say it's San Francisco. I could be wrong, Matt. But it's kind of like in chronological order over the years, all these strange kind of events that have happened at this one place. So I contributed a story that's set in the 70s. And it's an Italian prog rock band that's kind of just like Goblin, and it's yeah, I'm psyched on it. It's kind of talks about Fulci and Argento, even though I didn't use those names. I kind of tried to be a little bit more esoteric than that. But there's black metal in there, there's death metal, hardcore, just regular rock band. So I'm really psyched on that. And I've never been part of one of those anthologies. I've been part of themed anthologies, but not one where everything takes place in the same location, shared universe, I guess you call it. So I think that comes out next year. I could be wrong, but I am absolutely psyched on it because it's Italian prog rock. What more can I say?
That's awesome. That's cool.
I want an autographed copy of that, Patrick. God damn it.
I can hook that up.
Awesome. Well, thanks guys for hanging out tonight, and thanks everybody for watching. Wish everybody a happy holidays, a safe holidays.
Yep. Drive safe.
Drive safe. And we'll do this again for the next major holiday.
Maybe Valentine's Day.
Maybe New Year's.
Why not? 1 week apart? Yeah, let's do it.
Chuck's like, fuck that.
Oh, I haven't sworn yet, so fuck.
Perfect. Way to go all out at the end.
He's like all proud.
Fuck.
That's great.
All right, cool guys. See everybody next time.
Yeah, take care.